Hi, lovely ladies. It's so nice to meet all of you. I know Ruth quite well. We've been friends for a number of years, and we met while doing a death doula course together. It's lovely to reconnect with Ruth in this Sacred You community. Always love catching up with you. So, beautiful women, I'll just give you a quick introduction to who I am. My name is Jan Ravenfeather, and I'm an ordained priestess of the Divine Feminine, who I lovingly call Goddess, and also a tribe host for the many faces of Goddess in the Sacred You community. So it's wonderful to meet you all, and I would love to introduce all of you so everyone knows what great gifts and wisdom and everything you bring to this panel discussion regarding letting go. What a topic. What a topic. And letting go is a perfect wording for something quite profound that we all need to figure out how to do in our lives to make our lives more comfortable and more flowing, I guess is the right word to say, flowing. Welcome to Hara Bloom, who greets us from Amsterdam. She's travelling. What a great life. And Hara is a life coach and mentor living in beautiful Bali when she is at home, far away from a corporate career at the BBC. You need to write a book. After travelling for 6.5 years and studying mindfulness, spiritual healing, heart music, plant medicines, tantra, semantic movement, and authentic relating in Australia, South America, and Bali, she now guides women into more fulfillment, freedom, and fun. I love the fun part because we can be very, very serious and don't take time out to have fun. So welcome, welcome, Hara. Our next beautiful panelist, is Ruth Boydell, who is also a host of a tribe in the Sacred You of Afterlife, a tribe called Afterlife, being a death doula and a pastoral care educator. So Ruth is an adult educator, pastoral care practitioner, end-of-life doula, yoga teacher, and sailing instructor. She's a curious and compassionate person. Training as a pastoral care practitioner provided Ruth with the reassurance and guidance of all who seek that at the end of their lives. She also sings with the Threshold Choir, who sing from their hearts to people at the end of their lives, providing a profound experience. That certainly would be. Thank you, Ruth, for joining us this evening. And our next beautiful panellist is Dr. Trina Hinckley. Dr. Trina, being an internationally recognised and award-winning PhD experience in behaviour change. This allows Trina to help people worldwide transform their lives for the better and stay that way. She works with the 3 pillars of Western evidence, and I had to look this up, Trina, because I wasn't aware of what they were. So tell me, please, if this is correct. The evidence is being social, economic, and environmental. Is that correct? Thank you. As well as Eastern spirituality and Indigenous earth connection. Trina focuses on providing the support needed to work through processes of transformation and change for her becoming clients. And I love that, the way you put that, becoming. She's currently working on her little book called The Little Book of Change, which documents the journey of change, whether chosen or imposed, resolved or ongoing. That's amazing, and I want to talk to you about that in more depth. And our last but not least panellist is Victoria Laszlo, who's coming all the way from Ireland. Lovely to see you, Victoria. Victoria is a certified erotic blueprint blueprint coach. She created a foundational, easy to follow, inspiring, body-based self-intimacy practice so people can build all skills needed to clear the inner blocks for numbness, to allow a feeling of wholeness, aliveness, and freedom, to have a safe haven within. How beautiful is that, Victoria? And welcome to you all. The first question I would like to ask all of you, whenever you'd like to put your hand up when you've got an answer, that's fine. And unmute yourself, please, to answer. The first thing I'd like to ask is, what does letting go mean to you? Who would like to go first? What does letting go mean to you? It could be personal or in your practice. Yes, Ruth.
Yeah. You just start with the big questions, isn't it?
Why not?
the letting go for me, and thanks for that beautiful introduction. Letting go is releasing attachment to ideas or preconceived notions. So it's kind of allowing what is rather than maintaining an attachment. And in my doula practice, and certainly when I get to sing for people at the end of life, that's something that I sing for them. Some idea of there's a Michael Leunig poem that I sing that's part of the threshold singing, and it just goes, let it go, let it out, let it all unravel, let it be, and it can be a path on which to travel.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Could I ask you, Ruth, how many women are actually in that choir?
It's a worldwide choir, and it's based in the States, but there's several of those choirs in Australia. There's about eight choirs, and we've probably got about 6 to 20 in each of the choirs. So groups of 2 or 3 or 4 go into nursing homes or to private homes and sing for people at the end. And those songs would be just repeated till they become like a mantra, like a just a meditative lullaby.
I can imagine. That's so beautiful. Mm-hmm. How many do you normally get to a bedside with yourself? How many of the choir members can join you, or are you often alone?
Well, I've been often alone as a practitioner in the hospice, but yes, sometimes we get to go around in a group of 4. The last couple of years has not really panned out, but
not possible.
Yeah.
Oh, how beautiful. And thank you for that. The preconceived ideas, I think, is a very important part of stopping us from letting go. Thank you so much. Now, who else would like to have a talk about what letting go means to you?
I'll have a go, Jan.
Wonderful.
When I think about letting go, I think about a line out of a Robbie Robertson song, and I'm not going to be as brave as Ruth and sing it. That was so beautiful, Ruth. So I'm just going to speak the line. And it goes, when you find out what's worth keeping, with a breath of kindness, blow the rest away. And it just really helps me to remember that there are lots of things in our lives, and we don't actually need all of them. I think sometimes we hang on to them because that's our comfort zone. We're used to having them around, even if they're not serving us anymore. And that line helps remind me that it's okay to have a look at the things that are in your life and think about what is serving you, what is useful for you, what is benefiting you. And if there are things, there will be things that aren't serving you anymore. And maybe they once did, and it's sometimes hard to let go of those things. So if there are things that aren't serving you anymore, that you can gently let them go. It doesn't have to be a horrible traumatic experience. It can be a little prayer or a little song or a little ritual just to thank whatever it was for what it gave to you, how it served you, and then just release it.
How beautiful is that? Thank you so much. That's very comforting and nurturing. I'll ask you a little bit more about how what might be a tip for that process, what kind of tip you might be able to give us and other people that are watching to help begin that process, perhaps. That would be good.
Yeah, so I guess it's just allowing yourself the opportunity to sit down and, whatever practice speaks to you. So maybe it's journaling, maybe it's using some sort of oracle card, maybe it's, some people are very creative, so they might like to paint pictures of things that are in their life. And then taking some time to reflect on those and look at them and feel into, this is where, coming back into the body is really valuable, feel into how that resonates for you now in this moment, in this time, as this person that you are on this day, and whether or not there's still a connection with it. And sometimes it's really helpful, I think. I've got some little crystals here which I might use later on for something, but sometimes if we have a physical object and we can say, well, this thing represents that person and this thing represents that activity, and then we can put them all down and go, oh, actually there's a lot of things there and I don't have the time and energy to give to all those things, so what are the things that I can move out of my space? So sometimes having a physical object or representation of the things in our lives can help us get a little bit more objectivity around it.
Yes, would help us focus as well, on a thing rather than my memory is terrible, so some things that we try to think about in our lives often just bypass in the heat of the moment, so to speak. So having something physical can give you a point of reference.
Yeah, and it helps you see it as outside yourself. This thing is outside myself. It is not a part of me. It's a part of my life, but it's not a part of me. It doesn't define me. So when we can see it outside ourselves, sometimes it's easier to let go.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you so much for that. That's wonderful.
Thanks.
Good advice. Who else would like to give us an answer to what you see as letting go, how you feel letting go is for you? However you want to answer it. Victoria.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hi. So what led me to do this work was my struggles with orgasms. And it is so easy to say, to just let go and enjoy and be in the moment. But for those of us who just couldn't make it happen, it is just, it doesn't even help to say, just let go. But building something inside of us that feels safe and connecting and just following the flow, sometimes letting go just happening like by allowing, just happening by nature. And you don't even think about it after a while, you realize that actually, oh, I changed, something changed, or you just had an experience that you didn't have before, and you just realized that, oh my God, I could let go of this. So that was my first big thing. And this is where I started to learn more about how can I feel safe. And one of the things I do with my clients, and I think can be really helpful to anybody, is set up a timer like for 10 minutes or 15 minutes and ask yourself, tell me something about letting go of and whatever you want to let go of. And as you go deeper and deeper, you realize how many other things are attached to that very little thing. You just imagine it's an easy thing, like the letting go. Maybe if you let go of being non-orgasmic, just saying like from that thing, then you don't even know who you are anymore. Then you feel like you don't have control over your life. So it is kind of a big thing. And the more I focus on the letting go, sometimes I make it harder for myself to actually do it. So like, but being and feeling ourselves and just being with ourselves, sometimes that helps a lot, and allowing ourselves to feel all the discomfort, pain and hurt that is related to what we want to let go of, so that we can go through all the feelings and all the emotions, can sometimes help to more easily release what we are having there without us trying to control what is going on. And having somebody by your side who can hold space for you, like for example, I can imagine you as doulas do, is just like such an amazing gift, that you are allowed to feel anything, say anything, and there is this stable ground that allow you to expand, to experience something, and you know that somebody is just there for you. So it's just such a big gift.
Well, the way you're describing it, you're almost like an orgasm doula yourself. If you're helping someone go through that process, it's exactly the same thing. You're helping someone go through the process and finding possibly triggers or traumas that is a blockage that women may not necessarily know that are there, which are stopping them from having that amazing experience.
Absolutely. It is so much resistance related to even like a look through, like what is causing me to struggling with orgasms. There is this resistance, and it's sometimes it's really like a death or life thing. So like it's so deep and so connected. I can feel it, they can feel it, and it's all about meeting a part of myself that I'm really afraid of. And what's going on if I can unleash that part of myself. And this is why I thought that it's amazing when someone can help you with that and facilitate that thing. But there is, it's almost like all change, letting go is really like a death in some way. Rather it is orgasms or not, something is ending and something new is going to start.
Definitely, it's really coming out of your comfort zone, isn't it? I mean, no matter what you believe in, you only die once, possibly, and you. When it's a new experience, it's the part of becoming awake and becoming alive. When you're digging so deep into the woman's psyche and allowing that safe place for it to happen. That's very complicated. That is very complicated, really. I can really understand the issues with women not being able to achieve that. Must be very hard. Very hard. Thank you for your work. That's beautiful, because every woman needs to be able to experience that. Sadly, I do know a friend of mine who has never had an orgasm, and I can't really do anything for her, but it's sad. It's sad to know that she's never actually been in a place to allow that to happen for whatever reasons.
If it is sad for her, Mike, for some people that's totally fine, and it's so amazing when having an orgasm is not an expectation of you, and maybe you just love the journey and whatever is happening.
That is true, also.
So my big needle mover there was this, accepting that maybe I won't be orgasmic, and I was like, I won't work for an orgasm. I really want to be in the journey, and I will want to be 100% present, and that changed everything. And so like there are so many women who are not struggling with not having an orgasm, and it's good for them too. As good as for anybody who have them.
Yeah, very true. It's not the be all and end all. It's just a hopeful place to go. Thank you so much for that insight. That's beautiful. Thank you. Hara, would you like to give us some information on what you feel like letting go is?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you just for the freedom. I love the freedom you said, letting go in whatever way it means for you, because letting go for me is, it's something that I feel like comes to me in the biggest moments, where I'm cleansing out my house, or where I'm, letting go of people that are not serving me anymore, where I'm kind of, it's the biggest moments, but yet for me, it's also the smallest moments. So for me, letting go really comes through, like, just as you ladies were sat here now sharing, talking, I noticed that there's some emotion here this morning. There's some heaviness. There's a little bit of frustration that I haven't allowed myself to let go of fully. I haven't allowed my body to move through that experience. And for me, just as you were talking, for me, it's about letting go in those small moments, so that I can create space and open up my body and open up my experience for a new experience. So just for me, letting go in this moment, what's really present is letting go with breath, with sound, with just like allowing the shoulders to drop, allowing my energy to fall, so that I can create and have more space for something new, something different to come through. So for me, letting go comes through in the smallest moments, using breath, using sound, using movement, so that I don't hold on to tension, so that I don't hold on to resentment, that I don't hold on to conflict and anger, and that I can come into deeper connection with myself, and that I can come into deeper connection with others. Because I feel like when I'm holding on to so much frustration or anger or resentment or conflict, it creates distance. So for me, that's what's most alive right now when we talk about letting go, is talking about letting go through in the smallest moments.
Thank you so much for that. I think it's very important to that we don't get caught up in letting go. The act of letting go is a huge thing. The little acts of letting go are huge in themselves. Yeah. If we're waiting for a big, huge aha moment, that might not ever happen in our lives. But just the fact that we are aware of what's in our body in this moment. As you said, you had some frustrations this morning, and you just realised that you hadn't let it go, and then you talk through it. Being aware of those little things that build up to allow us not to go forward and be relaxed enough to accept and invite what's going to take its place.
Yeah, and I also think there's something here about what Ruth said. It's about, I think you mentioned, Ruth, about the non-attachment. So it's not attaching ourselves to that experience, and letting go, so that we can be present in this experience, in the here and now, to create that space and go like, okay, that's clear. Now I can be here, and now I can be present fully with this experience, because each moment is, if we're not attached to the past, if we're not attached to our beliefs, our stories, our fears, and there's so much more that comes through when we let those things go and we're not attached to those things.
That's great. And almost not being responsible, not holding the responsibility of that attachment, which I think is a huge thing that us women do, because we've been trained from birth with a lot of responsibilities. We're responsible for our children, we're responsible for our husband or our partner, we're responsible for everything, and we hold all that within us because we are nurturers and we're so strong and we're so resilient in ourselves that we take all that on. So being able to not feel responsible for what we can't control is a wonderful way of letting go. Thank you for your input. That was really lovely. Thank you so much. Now, Ruth, if I could get back to you, I would like to ask you a question as a death doula. What have you witnessed being at the bedside of somebody who is dying, in the process of dying, what have you witnessed about them being able to let go?
Well, there's a lot of kind of phases of that letting go, and I think one of them is to actually open up to their vulnerability, to actually open to allowing themselves to either express or acknowledge their vulnerability. And that's a huge part of it. There's a real shift in that when people, it's kind of where that point at which people accept that they are on their last days or minutes or however long that might be. Sometimes it is only a matter of hours where somebody's kind of says, I can feel like I can go now, or they can, kind of express that they're ready. Sometimes people don't do that, but what I've witnessed is the people seeing their ancestors or their departed relations come to visit them. That's a big part of it, and I suspect that that's to help people let go and to kind of help them cross over into the nether worlds. Sometimes it's called a psychopomp, or a kind of a spiritual being that's there to assist with the crossing over.
Yes. Oh, thank you for sharing that, because that's a very important part, and I think helps us to dispel a lot of fear involved in when we do pass from this life. That you've experienced that, because you're on the floor, basically. You're at the coalface of this happening. So thank you for sharing that. I've seen it myself, and it's wonderful, but not a lot of other people understand that does happen, and it can be a bit of a shock, I think, when we're facing our own not immortality, our own mortality. Immortality might come later. That can have a lot of fear attached to it.
Yeah.
Thanks for your work. Beautiful.
Thanks, Jan.
Beautiful. Thank you. I'll just have to go back to my notes here a little bit.
Can I just add
yes.
that Hara talked about the breath work, and that's what I find the singing is. It's actually a release for me to relax with my clients or family, whoever's there, and it helps people and the family around, everybody around, who can feel that lullaby, and so the breath work kind of happens through that. So
which leads me to another question, actually. So do you find the breath work when your job is done as a doula and you're leaving the side of that family and that person who has passed, how do you let go? How do you let go of your tensions and what attachments you might have with your emotions?
That's a good question, Jan. Thanks. That's taken me a while to actually, to work on my own care, I suppose, the self-care. So I like to spend time in the garden and so on, but that's kind of a walking and being part of that, walking, breathing, being part of nature and reflecting time. Just being connected. Bare feet.
Absolutely, bare feet, getting your energy from Mother Earth and just being in nature and letting that heal what emotion you might have taken out of that experience. That's great. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you for being so honest. It's really, really good. And everything that stays here is sacred. Everything we talk about is sacred.
Yeah.
Hara, I'd like to ask you a question, if that's okay. I'd like to ask you what came about for you to leave the BBC? How did you get to that point of letting go your career with the BBC and finding this path?
Yeah, so that was back in 2015. But before that, when I was 19, my father passed away, and that kind of spun me in a whole new direction and kind of flipped my life upside down, because I thought to myself, oh my gosh, if my father leaves at such a young age, then I have to go and live, I have to go and experience life. And that kind of spurred me on to leave my current situation, my current environment, and go to the States to travel. And then when I was in 2015, when I was working for the BBC, a similar thing happened where my best friend passed away. Mm-hmm. And this theme of grief and loss and everything came to the surface again. And I had no choice but to let go and to grieve and to let go. And a part of myself knew that I had to, in order for me to hang on, let me get my words.
No, take your time.
Yeah, so I was working for the BBC, and everything was going fine. Everything was good, but I knew deep inside that I wasn't really fulfilled, and I knew this wasn't my purpose as such. I was kind of living a life where I had to put a masquerade on, and I was pretending that I was happy, and I was pretending that this is what I wanted to do, and kind of ticking all those societal boxes and fitting into all of the expectations of society. And I remember my friend who passed away at the time, she was such a free spirit. She would just follow what she wanted, follow her joy, follow her truth in all of the moments. And that's essentially, in a very strange way, how she passed away. She just followed her inspiration, she followed her joy, and ended up getting killed by a fast-moving train. Anyway, and what this really did for me is this really helped me to think about, again, if my friend could get taken at such a young age, then what does that mean for me? She was 23, I was 25. Oh my goodness, life can get flipped and turned upside down in the blink of an eye. And I knew from that experience that was my call. That was my, that was my call to shift things and move things. And I just had her guidance, her encouragement with me the whole time, like her in spirit. She was telling me and guiding me to go and, go and live, go and do it, go and experience life. So for me, that was, I'm not sure whether this was your question, but for me,
that was
the big
definitely. That's your process of letting go. Yes.
Yeah, they were the biggest catalyst for me, like the theme of death, theme of loss, in, letting go of my father, letting go of my best friend in order to go on this new journey. And even though it was the most, saddest and hardest times of my life, it has also been the greatest pleasures and the greatest gifts, because I've lost so much, yet I have gained so much from having to let go, and that taking me on this journey of opening my eyes to a new and to seeing things from a new perspective. So that has been my process and my journey and kind of my catalyst into shifting things and letting go. I went on a bit of a tangent.
Oh no, no, absolutely it did. And I think it's very important that everyone hears these stories, because there's so many different facets to letting go. And if that catastrophe had not happened in your life, it wouldn't have been the catalyst to move you forward into what you're doing now. So how you processed that, very brave, took a lot of courage. And how wonderful that you could also feel her in your life, pushing you along. And That's such beauty. Thank you for being open with that and
Yeah.
sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thank you. Which leads me to another story, another question, I'm sorry, that I have for Dr. Trina, because I absolutely loved the way you talked about your little book of change that you're writing, or is it finished? You can tell me that in a minute. Which documents the, I'd love to get the book, by the way, so make sure you do put in Sacred View how we can all get this book and learn from it. The way you've described the little book of change being something that documents a journey of change, whether chosen or imposed. And what we were just talking about was an imposed change that forced a letting go for Hara. So that's quite profound, chosen or imposed, because there's so many things we have no control over in our lives, and we just need to find a way of processing and resolving or ongoing. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about that, because that's fascinating to me, especially dealing with changes and being able to let go in the changes that are either chosen or imposed on us. What advice would you give somebody who comes to you with a great change in their lives that they have not had any control over? How do you guide them through letting go, like Hara did? She processed that herself, but how do you help somebody in that moment?
Thanks, Jen. I think there are about 15 questions in there.
I think there were, yes. Well, let's just pick one.
So I think maybe what I'll do is just share a little bit about my story that led to the book, and then a little bit what I'm learning from actually writing the book, which will answer your question. So my story that led to the book was one of letting go. And like many people, I have a lot of examples of letting go in my life. This particular one was when my children were adolescents. I have two beautiful sons, and I was a single mum from when they were very, very small children. When they hit adolescence, just before adolescence, they started becoming very violent, and their father was violent. That was why I left him, and that was where I think they got the modelling from. And I tried everything that I could to manage that, to stop them being violent to each other. And eventually I reached out to their father and asked him to step in. And I don't know whether he did or not, but they did stop being violent to each other. And instead they started being violent towards me.
Oh, goodness.
So that was physical and verbal abuse that I experienced. And in turn, over time, partly through self-protection and self-defense, I also then started being violent towards them. So this was a horrible situation for all of us. My house was getting destroyed, and none of us were even anywhere near happy. I had to let go, but I was hanging on to the idea that I'm their mother. I have to be their mother. I have to stay here. I have to find a way through it. And I got to the point of going, actually, I can't. I've tried everything I could think of, and I cannot find a way through this. And I had to let go of my attachment to that idea of being their mother and what a mother looked like to allow any of us to have an opportunity to be happy. So I did. I sent them to live with their father, which I really didn't want to do, but there was it had got to the point of there being no option. And I moved 1,000 kilometres away. And I think that was the best decision I could have made for all of us. There were a couple of years that were pretty rough, but we've recovered from that and we now have good relationships. So that was absolutely the right thing to do for me. So that was my story that inspired the book about change. And what I'm doing is interviewing people about their experiences of change.
Great.
And so some of them are talking about external situations like quite traumatic experiences that have been inflicted upon them that have created situations in their lives where they've had to find a way to let go. And very often they hang on to it for a long time, like sometimes decades, and then realize, oh, actually, this isn't working anymore and I need to do something. And so then they've had to find a way to let go of it. Other times they've realized sort of early on that something isn't working, or they've just wanted something better. You know, they've wanted to aim for some particular goal, and that might mean selling their house. So then they're letting go of that idea of being a property owner. And what I'm learning lots of things. The interviews are amazing. But one of the things I'm learning is that people need to find the way that works for them to help them let go.
Definitely.
And for some, that's inner work. For some, like one woman that I interviewed, her health was very bad. There was really not much more the doctors could do for her. She was in a lot of pain every day. She had a walking stick. She could hardly function. She started doing little acts of kindness for other people. So she would write little notes and put them in library books or the books at op shops to brighten people's days. She'd put them on the windscreens at shopping centres. You know, she started doing these beautiful little acts of kindness, and that was her way to let go of her physical condition. And when I interviewed her maybe a couple of months ago now, she was fully healed and fully functional in her life. So I think that's what I'm really learning from this book, is that people need to find the way that's right for them. And sometimes they need support with that and suggestions. And other times it's just trial and error.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. And it just goes to show too that in the face of conflict and in the face of having a situation where you just don't see any way out of it and being at rock bottom, can come miracles.
Yeah.
Out of that, where you just all dark and there's nothing you can see to get out of it. And
it's really interesting, Jan, because some people have talked about that. For some people, one of the things I'm looking at are the different catalysts for change, and one of them is rock bottom. And some people are actually talking about the idea that, oh, I thought I was at rock bottom, but I really wasn't. And there was even further to go.
Yeah.
So I think that many of us can be pushed further than we realise, and need to be pushed further than we want to be before we get to that point of being able to let go. So we're still hanging on in some way.
Yes. So do you feel in that moment when people have those choices that it is a choice for them, that they make a decision and make a choice right then and there that makes the difference?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is about choice. A lot of it is about having the courage to be vulnerable and accept that I can't change this situation anymore. You know, there's nothing else I can do to change this or make it better. And then it's the choice to let go, and what is the way that you want to step out of that situation.
Thank you very much. And I love the honesty, the way you answered the question of looking at how a mother is thought of or should be, and stepping out of that role to just do what was best for you and your family at the time. That I commend you for that, because that would have been so hard.
Yeah.
But right. And often we do step into these roles. We should do this and we should do that because we are this and because we are that, but have the bravery to actually do what's right, even though it's really hard.
Yeah, it's making the decision that's right for you, even if everybody else says it's wrong.
Yes, that's bravery. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Angel. Ladies, I just want to go around the circle now and just ask if any of you have a tip that you wish to share with whoever is going to watch this video, which will be quite a few, I'd imagine, in time. So, Victoria, if you could give a woman or a group of women a tip from your experience and what you're doing now and your life experience, what could you share to help?
That allowing yourself to feel what is there in that moment without thinking about what does it mean and going in your head, just really allow the feelings. That on its own can create the change that you need. It doesn't sound like it will, but it does. And sometimes that is just allowing pain or allowing numbness, allowing like feeling nothing. That also a part of letting go without the expectation and attachment, without the attachment of letting go as well. Just like, because it's going to take as long as it needs to go and it needs to take. So that would be my number one advice.
That's a great tip. Thank you so much. Thank you. Dr. Trina, if you have a tip that can help anyone in a situation of catastrophe, to help them to find a little piece of light perhaps at the end of the tunnel, what tip would you give?
Yeah, that's a good question, Jan. I think one of the things that happens in catastrophe is we go, oh my God, it's huge, it's so huge, and I've got no idea what to do, and we fall into our overwhelm. And when we're in overwhelm, we can't act. So the advice that I give to people is to just look at one thing. What's the first thing? Just the tiny, tiny, tiny little thing that they can do to start moving through that, and just focus on that one thing, and don't think about the second thing or the third thing or the fourth thing or any other things, just that one thing, and do that. And when that's done, then think about what's the next one thing. So it's always just this idea of just one thing, because that's manageable.
Perfect. That's great advice. Thank you so much. And it helps that we're not so overwhelmed then. I find that's really good, even when you've got a lot of things to do or cleaning out a room at home. Just start with one thing. That's great advice, because then you're not overcome with all the things that come with it. Thank you so much. Hara, if you could give a woman or a group of women one tip, one piece of advice about letting go in your work and in your general lifelong experience, what would it be?
Yeah, I think there's two things that I want to mention, and one is kind of touching upon what I shared earlier with, letting go in those small moments, because I really do believe that those small moments lead up to the big moment. So if in any moment throughout the day you're feeling anxious, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling like there's too much going on, if you're feeling whatever you're feeling in an experience, and it's a little bit about what Victoria touched upon, allow yourself to feel that experience and to have that experience without judging it, without denying it, without pushing it away, and welcome it, and see if you can move through it using your sound, your breath, your energy, and giving yourself to that experience so that you can clear and make space for the new to come through. And then there's also a second thing that I kind of recommend my clients to do on a weekly or monthly basis, which is where you kind of look at your life as a whole. You look at where your time and energy is going, who you're spending your time with, look at everything that you've got on your plate, and doing a bit of an analysis and going like, okay, I think we mentioned this earlier, like right now, what are my priorities and what are my intentions, and where do I want to be putting my energy and focus towards, and writing those things down that you have in your life. And if things are not in alignment with that, then starting to clear those out. Go, okay, my calendar is really busy right now, and I need to create some space for rest and surrender and letting go and relaxation. Okay, well, that means that I have to say no to that person. I have to create some boundaries here. That means that I have to cancel my dinner plans. That means that I have to change things around so that I can create more space in my life for the things and the experiences that I want to have. And be in more of the experience of the things that I want to feel. So that's something that I do with my clients regularly, and I get them to do is just kind of doing a bit of a life audit and looking at what can we let go of here, what's really not a priority, where can we shed and get rid of those dead cells, dead skin, that natural process of that nature goes through. We need to shed, we need to let go in order to replenish and to have new energy circulating and moving. So that would be my two biggest.
Thank you. Great advice. And often we need someone to guide us because we just get caught up with the big things that we think are big things, but they're not. Thank you so much. Ruth, my dear, what about you? What advice would you give someone in letting go, given your own life experience and your current role as death doula?
I was thinking of all the ways in which I've had to let go. So let go of the dock, let the boat, just release it and head out and cross an ocean. And that in itself, it's an act of trusting yourself. And I think really as a doula, I think I've done it through my head through much of my life, but now I'm working on, and the doula work is bringing me into my heart work, and it's trust your heart. That's what I would say. Just, trust your heart.
Thank you very much. I think that's very important. It's something as women we have great intuition. We have great intuition if we just trust ourselves and listen to our hearts and listen to our inner wisdom that we all have. That's great advice. Thanks very much, Ruth. Very, very much. Yes. Well, is there anything anyone else would like to share before we start to wrap up at all? I agree with all of you that you've all given beautiful information and wonderful wisdom in all that you've shared. Thank you so much for being honest and open and vulnerable by telling your own stories. That's very important that anyone hear that, because we are human and we're all here to help each other. And I really appreciate that. It's heartfelt. I could feel your passion for everything you all do and everything that you wish to share to help heal the world in your own way with your own gifts. It's wonderful. Keep it up, ladies. You're all beautiful souls.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you so much for that. It was greatly appreciated. Thank you for everyone. But before we finish, if I may say, does anyone have any giveaways that they'd like to share? We do have a few people watching this. Beck has commented, of course, that's been shared around, that it's been a fabulous topic and great advice and sharing of experiences.
Lovely.
So can we ask if anyone has any giveaways that they would like to share with our audience out in Facebook world? So does anyone? Victoria, yes. Yeah.
So hence I started to organize these practice and play parties kind of thing. Last Sunday was self-spanking. You've been bad. But this Sunday will be about awakening the hands and energetic touches. And the week after is going to be fire breath orgasms, which is like moving energy through the chakras, giving sounds. And if you check my programs, just drop me an email at connect@selfintimacy.org, and you are there free, so I can put you on the list. And if you can't do it live, it's all fine, because you can watch the replay anytime you want. So it's totally fine if you can't make it in time. I don't have a watch record now because I changed platforms, but if you drop me an email, I'm more than happy to put you on the list, like anyone who is coming from this place.
Lovely.
Thank you. Thank you. I might even do that myself. So thank
Why
you.
not?
Why not? Why not? All right. And what about anyone else? Does Hara or Trina?
Yeah, I'll share something I have on my website. I have some what I call treasures. So there are quite a number of meditations there for various different outcomes that people can download for free. And also a book, an ebook on habits, creating habits that will help set you up for a healthy life and a balanced life. And it's fairly practical. So
Yeah,
sort of got
that's
that
great.
habits that's practical and the meditations that are a bit more spiritual. So to balance out both sides of our personalities. So they're just on my website at theexpandedself.life on the treasures tab.
Wonderful.
I
think I'll take you up on that.
Good, definitely. And what about Hara? You had your hand up.
Yeah, so I currently have a bi-weekly event called the Liberation Lounge, where we gather every 2 weeks in community, in connection, in sisterhood, and explore the theme of liberation from a holistic standpoint, body, mind, and spirit. And we're exploring all the different things at the moment, from letting go, liberating your truth, emotional alchemy, vocal expression, boundaries, all of the things, so that we can free ourselves from restriction, limitation, holding on, fear, resentment, overwhelm, so that we can open ourselves up to more possibilities, and so that we can access our fuller potential, power, expression, and freedom. So that's a bi-weekly event currently. And if you would like to be invited to that, then just drop me a message on Instagram, hara.bloom, and I would be more than happy to send you the invite to those.
Thank you. Thank you. Look forward to that. And of course, we've put everyone's details on all the places where we've gone live too, so it will all be there. And Ruth, what about you? Is there anything that you would like to share with our audience?
Well, I don't have any freebies as such, but I do have a website, lifetimes.net.au, and that's just tells people a bit about what I do as an end-of-life doula.
Yes.
And welcome to come and have a look at that.
Yes, and of course your tribe. Do you want to mention your tribe?
And the tribe, yes. So
all about letting go.
So in the Sacred You, I've got a tribe called Afterlife, and it's to help develop our intuitive awareness of our current life and the lives that that we may touch after someone dies. So connecting with spirits on the other side, and seeing how we interact with them. Yeah, and I feel like I've got this light that's been, I have no idea where that's been coming from at all tonight.
It's interesting.
You have a beautiful halo.
Yes, there you go.
Thank you. And Jan, I know I've taken over your beautiful facilitator role just to wrap up.
Thank you.
You've done a wonderful job of being our facilitator.
I'm glad you.
Would you like to share anything that because we'll put all your details in as well, so do you have anything that you would like to share with our audience?
I would like to give an offering. I'm either live in person or online. I would like to offer anyone who needs a sister to talk to. I'm offering myself to be a sounding board and a listener, and someone to hold space for anyone who would just like to talk, vent, whatever they want to do. They just need to contact me and I'll make myself available.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And for anyone who is watching, I definitely do recommend Jan. Is a beautiful, such a beautiful space and being, and definitely holds wonderful space. So thank you for offering that, Jan. And of course, you're the host of the Many Faces of the Goddess tribe.
Yes.
Yes, where we learn all about different goddesses.
Yes, once a month we get together, and it's called the Many Faces of Goddess because of the many aspects of the divine feminine energy. And she's come to us all over the world with different names, depending on what cultures that people have had in their, what country they were born in, etc. And it talks about the aspects of that divine feminine energy that we can tap into to help us with a certain area of our life, which really does help a lot of women who are spiritual and who are connected to that, the feminine side of the Godhead, if you would like to think of it that way.
All right. So thank you, and thank you again, everyone, for who is joining us tonight, and for everyone who is listening. Of course, you can come and experience Jan's tribe, Ruth's tribe, and any of our other 30-something tribes. And you can just do that just for $1 Australian, and you get to experience it all for 21 days, complimentary, for that $1 Australian. Then after that, it's just 15 Australian dollars a month, where all sorts of tribes, all sorts of metaphysical, sacred feminine, personal empowerment, health and wellness, anything like that. So do check us out on the links that our beautiful Angel has been putting in all the comments as we've been talking tonight. So
thank you, Angel.
Just want to thank everyone again and wish everyone a beautiful day and a beautiful night wherever you are in our amazing world. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Lovely to meet you.